Okay, so I want to put a bit of a pin in this confidence conversation, but before we move on to some other things, because I just think there's so much other great stuff to talk about in this life, I think that confidence is the kind of thing that you return to again and again. And just as God's been taking me on this journey of developing my confidence, and I think really assessing where I get my confidence from, I think that He's also asking me to keep reflecting on it and keep looking into that over the next few months, maybe even over the next few years, just assessing like how my confidence is growing based on where I try and find it. But I thought I would just continue and maybe conclude for now this confidence conversation just by sharing with you some amazing verses that I read in 2 Corinthians. There are so many verses about confidence, about the fact that we are wholly loved and accepted by God, about the fact that we're empowered by Him, things that will build our confidence in the everyday. The Bible's full of it, but I wanted to just share a couple of things from 2 Corinthians that I was reading that just laid it out very basically for me, which you find in, first of all, 2 Corinthians 1 verse 12 says this: "Our boast is this, that we behaved in this world with simplicity, with godly sincerity, not by earthly wisdom, but by the grace of God." You know, God is showing me that in this season, we just got to keep it simple. You know, sometimes I think we overthink confidence through our perspective, through other people's perspective. We measure ourselves by other people's expectations, or by the expectations of your job or the role that you fulfill or the church that you're in, whatever. And God just asks that we live simply with sincerity by His grace. So I think sometimes when I get caught up in confidence, in examining the things that I think I do right and do wrong, or the areas where I'm strong and where I'm weak, I sometimes have lost sight of this truth. 1 Corinthians 12, "Our boast is this, that we behaved in this world with simplicity and godly sincerity by the grace of God." Secondly then, in 2 Corinthians 3, it says this, verse 4, "Such is the confidence that we now have through Christ towards God, not that we're sufficient in ourselves to claim that anything is coming from us, but our sufficiency is from God." We don't have to have the answers to things. We don't have to have the solutions for the people in our lives, even people that we're leading, even people that we are responsible for. I think even of my kids, I don't have to have the answers and the solutions, because the Bible says that my sufficiency is not coming from me, it's from God. So wherever I feel like I'm lacking, it's usually because I've placed my eyes too firmly on myself. I think that confidence, weirdly, tends to weaken as we focus on our human capacity and our human power. We're not designed to be anybody's answer. We're not designed to be anybody's solution. We're simply designed to point to Jesus, who has all things in His hands. So I think that, wherever I start to get super analytical and detailed, and self-critique or self-analysis goes up a notch, my confidence goes down a notch. And you'd think that if I'm focusing on my strengths and my areas of confidence, then maybe my confidence would grow. But actually, we're not designed to be the answer or look to ourselves for the answer. And actually, that's when things tend to crack. So God is reminding us like He's sufficient. And then the third thing, 2 Corinthians 4 says this: "What we proclaim is not ourselves, but Jesus Christ as Lord, with ourselves as servants for His sake." We're just here to serve. We're not here to solve anything, to be the answer to anything. We just get to serve in this great big picture of what He's doing across the earth. So just in the first few chapters of 2 Corinthians, it reminds us that we got to live simply, that our sufficiency is found in God, not in ourselves, and that we're here to serve. And I think whenever I get tripped up over my confidence, those are things that I can remember, is that, if I can just use what I have to glorify God, to serve other people, and live simply within my means and within the things He's asking me to do, then hopefully my confidence is actually going to increase, because I realize that it's not in myself, it's in Him, and He lacks nothing. So those are just a couple of things that I've been thinking about as I've been trying to grow in confidence, and God's been reminding me, you just need to keep listening to me and keep doing what I tell you to do and not make it any more complicated than that. The last thing that I'd say is that my daughter Cleo loves giving me things, and they're not always the things that I want. And I've noticed that in this season, one of the things she loves to give is stickers. Now, stickers get forgotten about, go through the wash on your clothes, make a mess, get stuck in your hair, get stuck to furniture in your house. Basically not a mother's ideal love language, but they're her love language. And what I've noticed is she started being aware that I don't really want her stickers, because obviously I'm not very enthusiastic in the way that I receive them. So she'll say to me, Mum, I'm going to ask you something, but I know you're going to say no. Or, Mum, do you want one of my stickers, but I think you don't. Like, she preempts it with a little bit of self-protection, that she's aware that I'm not really as keen as she is on this love language. And so she's begun to stop offering me them, or offer them in a very kind of guarded way. And I just think the encouragement of God that is in this word is an absolute gift, and it's his love language to us. The times when he tells us that we are loved, that we are accepted, that we are important and valued. If we don't want to hear those things, if we reject those things from the offset, and deny them in the way that we live, in the way that we believe, in the things that we speak over ourselves, then we're effectively saying, I don't want your gift. And it's so sad when I see that my little girl already has picked up on my lack of enthusiasm for what she loves. And it brings to me like a bit of a correction, that I just think, if you love giving me these things, I want to receive them because I want to encourage you. And actually, maybe it does make my day a bit brighter to have a shiny unicorn sticker on my shoulder, even if I forget about it and somebody at the nursery has to point it out to me 4 hours later. It's something to laugh about. I think sometimes when it comes to the promises that can give us confidence that we find in the Bible, we're less than enthusiastic, or we kind of roll our eyes, I've heard this before, I already know this, and we don't let it really settle in. We don't let it be a gift that it was designed to be, that actually benefits our lives and brightens our lives. So I'm just reminded that, what is your posture in receiving the promises of God, receiving the words of God? Because if we keep it simple, if we remember that he is sufficient, if we remember that we're here to serve, and then if we read this word in the way that it was designed, which is to bless our lives and to build courage in us, then hopefully off the back of that, confidence will naturally grow, because we'll stop focusing on ourselves and we'll start focusing on God's perspective and the good things that he wants to give us every day.